Good afternoon. I am Councillor Tim Needham, Chair of Council, and I would like to welcome you all to this full Council meeting. Before we sit down, I would like to ask that everyone in the chamber remain standing whilst we pay our respects to the following former councillors who have all sadly passed in recent weeks. Richard Cooper Holmes served as a councillor for Rosington and Bawtry Ward from 2009 until 2015. Until recently, Charlie Hogarth served as a councillor in the Bentley Ward for a period of 14 years, from May 2011 until May 2025. Mick Muddiman represented the Wheatley Ward of Doncaster for 9 years, between May 1998 until May 2007. And finally, Martin Williams was a councillor for 17 years, representing the Thorne and Moor Ends Ward between 1998 and 2015. All four worked tirelessly for their communities, and during their time as elected members, all served as committee members, as chairs or vice chairs of scrutiny committees. Martin Williams also served as cabinet member for adult social care in Mayor Martin Winter's cabinet. Our thoughts are with their families and friends at this difficult time. Please remain standing while we hold a minute's silence to pay our respects. Thank you. Please be seated. This meeting is proceeded on the basis that all members have read their agenda papers and understand the business on today's meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice, but in the event of hearing the fire alarm, please leave the chamber and turn right, proceed down the stairway and through the emergency exit onto the ground floor. Please assemble in the public square in front of Cast beyond the fountain. Anybody with mobility issues should wait in the refuge area near the lift and use the intercom for assistance. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's YouTube channel. By entering the Council chamber, you are accepting that you will be recorded and your images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If you plan to record or film the meeting, please do so without disturbing proceedings. Please ensure mobile phones are switched to silent mode. Finally, if any buzzing starts whilst you are talking, please try gently straightening your microphone to a more upright position and it should subside. Straight into business. Thank you. Item 1. Apologies for absence. I have received apologies for absence from Councillors Jason Charity, Dan Dawson, Kieran Lay, Stephen Platter and William Shaw. Are there any other apologies? Thank you. Oh, sorry, yes. Maria, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, apologies from Stephen Plater.
Thank you. Item 2, to consider if the public and press are to be excluded from the meeting. There are no exempt items on today's agenda. Item 3, declarations of interest. If anyone has an interest in any item on today's agenda, please can they declare it now or as soon as it becomes known to them? Are there any declarations. Thank you. Can I also ask members who may declare, if they do it afterwards, to complete and submit the declaration of interest form to one of the governance officers after the meeting? Thank you. Item 4. Minutes of the council meeting held on the 18th of September and the extraordinary meeting held on the 23rd of October 2025. Do we agree they are both a true and accurate record? Thank you. That's agreed. Item 5, announcements. I have one announcement to make, and that is to, confirm I have agreed the date of the council meeting scheduled for the 9th of July 2026 to be moved to the 16th of July 2026. I will ask officers in the governance service to email all members with this amendment date so that you can update your diaries. Thank you. Mayor Jones, do you wish to make an announcement?
I do, Chair. I've got 3 announcements, so I beg your indulgence if I slightly go over the time. Community Regeneration Partnership. Today, we welcome to Doncaster the Minister for Devolution, Faith and Communities to formally confirm the £20 million Community Regeneration Partnership funding for Doncaster City Centre to create jobs and revamp the city centre. The 20 million package will go towards multiple projects, including 7 million for the next phase of investment into Doncaster markets, 5 million to purchase key city centre sites, including derelict buildings, 3 million for heritage and culture, and 5 million to improve the city centre experience. Regeneration of our city centre is a key priority, and Doncaster markets will play a pivotal role in the vision to create a modern and thriving city centre. This is a substantial amount of funding that will enable us to continue with works identified within our city centre master plan, supporting enterprise, enhancing our high streets, bringing disused buildings back into use, and investing in our heritage. Doncaster is the new city in the north of England with incredible potential and a clear vision to breathe new life into our city centre. I now move on to my next announcement. That is the Great Northern Conference. Next week, the City of Doncaster will be hosting the annual economic conference organised by Yorkshire Post, featuring business and political leaders to promote the building of a more prosperous future for the north of England. It will be a chance to shine a spotlight on our prized assets and economic opportunities and show that the City of Doncaster is open for business. There's a host of projects with huge potential either happening now or just around the corner. The opening of our airport, the opening of Network Rail's new training centre that will provide education, skills and training courses across our region and beyond. Meanwhile, the ongoing construction of the Gateway 1 development will bring new tech and AI hub that will provide the quality jobs of tomorrow, delivering incredible opportunities for our residents, businesses, and of course, our young people. Doncaster's potential is being realised, and we want to showcase our great city. The conference provides an opportunity to drive the City of Doncaster through the challenges and opportunities that exist today. My third announcement is in respect of the Huntingdon train incident, 1st of November. My final announcement, Chair, is in relation to the horrific attacks that took place on the 1st of November on the 1825 LNER train from Doncaster to London King's Cross. I wholeheartedly condemn these mindless acts of violence. I would like to pay tribute to the emergency services for their swift response, with the accused being arrested within 8 minutes of the first 999 call. We must also acknowledge the exceptional bravery of staff and passengers on the train, where passengers stepped forward to protect others, highlighting the very best of Britain, standing together in the face of violence, danger and division. And I would also like to acknowledge the apology from Councillor Alexander Jones for his comments he posted on social media following the horrific knife attack, again highlighting how important it is to combat the spread of misinformation. That's the end of my announcements, Chair.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you have any announcements?
Thank you. I have three, in actual fact, Chair, so I may run over. My first announcement is regarding Storm Claudia. Councillors, at the weekend before last, Doncaster faced Storm Claudia with strong winds, heavy rain and multiple flood alerts across the city. Thankfully, other than a few isolated incidents, we avoided any major flooding. I would like to pay tribute and thank all our council officers who worked long hours over those few days, deploying over 8,000 sandbags, closing roads due to surface water flooding, and in monitoring likely flooding hotspots. Not only did these officers work over the weekend through Storm Claudia, but many of them commenced winter gritting last Monday. I would also like to thank our partners, including South Yorkshire Fire and Rescue, the Environment Agency, South Yorkshire Local Resilience Forum and South Yorkshire Police for their vital support. My second announcement, Chair, is government funding for social and affordable housing. Earlier this month, government announced £700 million in funding for South Yorkshire as part of the Social and Affordable Housing Programme. We welcome this funding announcement, which will enable us to move forward with plans to build more social and affordable homes for local people within Doncaster. In Doncaster, the funding will provide a welcome boost to our existing council house build programme and potential brownfield developments in the pipeline. Doncaster is working to reduce the local housing shortage and deliver on our housing aspirations for more high quality and affordable homes. With this medium to long-term certainty of funding, alongside a 10-year social housing rent settlement from April 2026, which will enable us to deliver more social and affordable housing across Doncaster. My final announcement, Chair, is around Christmas in Doncaster City Centre. I would like to make a brief announcement in relation to Christmas celebrations within the city centre. Once again, the festive season, the City of Doncaster Council will be offering free city centre parking from Monday the 1st of December 2025 to Sunday the 4th of January 2026. That will happen from 2 p.m. and for the rest of the day stroke evening, Monday to Saturday at the Popular Markets car park and St George's car park. We are also offering all day Sunday free parking at these Popular Markets car park and St George's car park. Every Saturday in December, free all-day parking will occur at Chapel Drive car park. I encourage all residents of Doncaster to make the most of this offer to support our high streets this festive season, whether that be retail, leisure, culture, hospitality and of course Doncaster markets, to buy local wherever possible, supporting local businesses who employ local people. And finally, I would like to be possibly the first to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Ho, ho, ho. Are there any other Cabinet members who wish to make an announcement? Okay. Councillor Nevitt, you can go first.
Thank you, Chair. My first announcement is about the CQC inspection results. Council, at our last meeting, I announced that Doncaster's assessment by the Care Quality Commission in relation to adult social care was recently completed. I am pleased to announce that the Care Quality Commission assessed this council's adult social care services as good. Their report about Doncaster was published at the end of September and is based on detailed consideration of what local people who receive care and support told them as well as feedback from frontline workers and from partnership organisations. The CQC are using a consistent approach to assess and rate all councils in England. At present, only a handful of councils have achieved a higher overall rating than Doncaster. I would like to thank our leadership team, partners, all of our staff who contributed towards this assessment and achieved this outcome. We are committed to providing excellent social care to people in Doncaster, and although we are pleased with our assessment, we are not complacent. Under the leadership of Mayor Ros Jones, significant investment and support has been provided to adult social care in Doncaster. We recognise the areas that require further development, and we are firmly committed to providing the very best care and support we can, both now and in the future. We will always look to continually improve, seeking to provide the best outcomes possible for Doncaster people who need care and support, the family members, friends and neighbours who provide essential unpaid care, and the adult social care workforce who work day and night to support the well-being of our residents. Thank you. My second announcement is from the Culture Portfolio. I'm delighted to share some excellent news with Council. Arts Council England has awarded £116,000 to support a programme of work that will strengthen the long-term sustainability of Cusworth Hall and Park. This investment will enable the Council to develop a new commercial plan for the site, expand and enhance volunteering opportunities, and undertake a full architectural assessment of the bothy to understand its future potential and commercial viability. Each of these elements is vital to securing a resilient future for the hall, the park and the communities who greatly value them. This funding recognises the significance of Cusworth Hall and Park as one of Doncaster's most important heritage assets and supports our wider ambition to ensure the site continues to create, connect and thrive. My thanks go to Arts Council England for their confidence in Doncaster and to the officers and partners whose work has made this investment possible. It represents another positive step forward for our heritage and cultural offer and for the sustainable future of Cusworth Hall and Park. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Nevitt. Councillor Farmer, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two announcements. First is Network Rail Training Centre. At the end of October, the former High Speed Rail College at Lakeside officially reopened as a new railway training centre for Network Rail, which, following a public vote which attracted over 3,500 responses, has been named the Gresley Institute. Formerly home to the National College of High Speed Rail, the building has been transformed into a modern centre for operational training, education and development. The Gresley Institute name honours Sir Nigel Gresley, the visionary chief mechanical engineer who designed both the Mallard and the Flying Scotsman locomotives at Doncaster Works. Revolutionising steam locomotive design, it was a clear winner with 57% of votes cast. It is truly fantastic to see this site that was established to support training in the rail industry finally being able to be fully utilised and continuing with the dedicated purpose. Doncaster has a long and noble history of rail, and an even brighter one with this facility and the range of expertise in rail companies that call Doncaster home. Doncaster is the newest city in the north of England and has so many opportunities being developed to boost our economy, grow our industry specialism and create jobs, training and ambition. My second announcement is 16 days of activism against gender violence. 16 days of activism against gender violence is a national campaign which commenced on Tuesday and will run until 10th of December. The campaign creates an opportunity to come together to raise awareness of domestic abuse, sexual violence towards women and girls. This year the theme is Unite to End Digital Violence Against All Women and Girls. Digital tools are increasingly being used to stalk, harass and abuse people. These acts don't just happen online, but they can often lead to things like coercion, stalking, physical abuse and even death. Although the 16 Days of Activism is a national campaign to end violence against all women and girls, digital abuse and all forms of abuse also affects men and boys. The Doncaster Violence Against Women and Girls Community Action Group held their annual vigil last Friday, which I attended, marking the International Day of Eliminating Violence Towards Women and Girls. I have this message to all residents of Doncaster. If you are experiencing domestic or sexual abuse or any form of violence or harassment, whether you are male or female, there is support available for you. You can contact the police directly, contact the Domestic Abuse Hub, or speak to a trusted professional who can help you access the support you need. Remember, you are not alone, and we are here to help you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of Cabinet who wish to speak? Councillor Church, please.
Thanks, Chair. I have two announcements. I would like to update Council on our recently agreed investment in our leisure facilities. The full proposals include significant refurbishments for Doncaster Dome, further investments into Adwick and Dearne Valley leisure centres, with support from funding from Sport England, and a brand new leisure facility for Edlington, which will replace the existing Edlington Leisure Centre. These investments are incredibly important for our communities, enabling our residents to live healthier lives through sport and leisure. This is a key priority for this Labour-run council, delivering further investment in our leisure facilities on top of over 35 million we have invested over the last 5 years, when many councils are looking to close or reduce operational hours of some of their facilities. We have listened to residents throughout this process, which is why I'm pleased to say that our new leisure facility for Edlington will include a 25-metre swimming pool. We know how important this was from the feedback we received, and it was essential we went back, looked at this and made the relevant changes. My second announcement is in relation to our next phase of investment for Doncaster Markets, following the announcement from Mayor Ros Jones in relation to the Community Regeneration Partnership. Doncaster residents, visitors, business owners and market traders will next week be asked for their views on ideas on the future of Doncaster Markets and the marketplace area. Over the past 10 years, Doncaster Markets has already seen significant investment, including renovation of the Wool Market and the Corn Exchange, with attention now focusing on how to deliver further improvements and the next phase of investment following today's announcement on Community Regeneration Partnership funding. I regularly speak with market traders, and earlier this month we held a specific engagement session to discuss this exciting next phase of investment. I know how passionate and committed our market traders are, but we must back them up with a suitable, sustainable, long-term vision that everybody can get behind and work together, develop a plan that has everyone pulling in the same direction. I'm usually passionate about the future of our markets, and I believe the majority of people in Doncaster are too. I ask that councillors engage with the consultation, share it across their own communities and help us to create a vision that we could all get behind and work towards a renewed Doncaster Markets, fighting fit for the future. The feedback we receive will help us create an action and investment plan, as well as prioritise lists of projects and milestones we can work towards alongside all our market traders who have been and will continue to be consulted on throughout the entire process. Doncaster City Centre is a key priority for this council, and Doncaster Markets will play a pivotal role in the vision to create a modern and thriving city centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Church. Chief Executive, do you wish to make any announcements?
None, Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, so now we move on to item 6, questions from the public. There are 6 public questions on today's agenda to the Mayor and Cabinet members. I shall read out each question and allow the relevant executive member to respond. I will then allow the member of public submitting the question an opportunity to ask a supplementary question if they wish. You will be directed to the public microphone by a governance officer and be given 2 minutes to ask your supplementary questions. This should not be a statement, and it must be a question arising directly out of the original question or the reply given. I will read out the first question from Mr. Michael Regan. The South Yorkshire Mayor instigated an independent inquiry into strategic infrastructure in South Yorkshire on the 1st of February 2023. A Freedom of Information response stated the report is complete and would be publicly available no later than the 1st of February 2025. This is now delayed indefinitely. This report will have significant impacts on the decisions surrounding reopening operation and investments in Doncaster Sheffield Airport. Can the Mayor confirm that she has read the complete report, and can she confirm that details of the report have been provided to all parties involved in the development and preparation of the business case for reopening the airport, and any parties interested in potential investment in the airport? Mayor Jones, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your question, Mr. Regan. I have not seen the report you mentioned, and it was not part of the assurance documents which formed the basis upon which South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority formed its investment decision on the 9th of September. However, I must reassure you that it has little or no impact on the decisions surrounding reopening, operation and investments in DSA. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Regan, are you in the chamber, and do you wish to ask a supplementary question? Thank you.
Okay, just a couple of things. Madam Mayor, you said in your response to me that you hadn't seen the report, but you assure me that it has no impact. How can the two be the same? And I'd like to point out that it's astonishing that you are unaware of this report, as it was instigated by the Mayor in response to the airport being shut. He made it so that it was a strategic infrastructure response with several items in the terms of reference, which said to propose reforms to empower local regional leaders to prevent or mitigate the abrupt closure of such regional assets. Also, the inquiry's focus should also consider the case for reforms that would increase influence of democratically elected representatives, including council leaders and mayors. I'm quite surprised that you don't feel as if a report that comes out of Simca that will have an influence on how mayors and council leaders will affect the operations and investment decisions in the airport. It just seems to me that any influence or any actions taken by democratically elected leaders will have an influence on investment and operational decisions at the airport. So I would just like to ask you...
Can I just ask you just to get to your point, because
yeah,
we're out of time.
I would like to ask you, when will the council, and more importantly, Fly Doncaster, be made aware of the recommendations and actions that are going to be implemented as a result of this report, which has been finished since February this year? Well, November.
Thank you.
They said it was going to be released in February.
Thank you for your supplementary questions.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. The report that you name was not part of the information which actually formed the basis which South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority formed its investment decision on the 9th of September. To review the existing legislation, regulatory policy and legal framework that enables private owners of regional assets to close otherwise dispose of those assets without reference to stakeholders' views, the implications for wider strategic and economic objectives, or the policy impact on communities was the reason for the report being drawn up. I've been made aware that my understanding is that SIMCA will be publishing the findings early in the new year, and I wait to receive the publication of the report. Thank you for your question and supplementary.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I will now read out the second question from Ishika Jam. Why are our communities living with so many unmet needs in areas of high priority with fear to accept support from public servants using public money for the best interests of the city's people? On the same note, why are so many individuals and families being wrongly safeguard targeted from unsafe staff, twisting true policies and procedures and cherry-picking them to use safeguarding as a weapon? Many vulnerable individuals are being abused with life-altering impacts from people deemed safe by councils in councils and public services. What are you, our council, going to do about it, and who oversees you? Mayor Jones, it's for you to respond.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Isaiah. In relation to unmet needs in areas of high priority, this council and our Team Doncaster partners are working with communities and residents to improve lives. Doncaster partners are working with communities, and there is a huge amount of work taking place in places like Edlington, Hexthorpe, Stainforth and in the city centre to increase access to services, build community capacity and resilience, and improve access to jobs, skills, opportunities and prosperity. Our approach to doing this work is to do with residents, not to them. There is always more to do, and I recognise the challenges that residents face every day. That is why I am committed to making sure investment is targeted across the city of Doncaster, whether that's Pride in Place funding in Conisbrough, Mexborough and Rosington, neighbourhood renewal in Asken and Bentley, town deals in Stainford and the city centre, levelling up funding in Moorends, leisure investment in Adwick, Durham Valley, the Dome and a new leisure facility for Edlington. In relation to people and families being wrongly safeguarded, the first thing I want to say is that if you provide details about any concerns you have to myself, my cabinet or senior officers, we will make sure they are thoroughly investigated. You also ask about oversight arrangements. Both adults and children's safeguarding report into partnership boards with independent scrutineers. Our safeguarding practice can also be scrutinised by national regulators, the Care Quality Commission and Ofsted, by Social Work England, who are responsible for decisions about fitness to practice, and via the local government ombudsman, who oversee the investigation of complaints. As per the announcement from my Cabinet Member for Adults Wellbeing Culture, Councillor David Nevitt, the Care Quality Commission has recently assessed this council's adult social care services as good. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Ishika, are you in the chamber and would you like to ask a supplementary question?
So first of all, my name's Isa Shaw. Just thought I'd clear that up. That's okay.
That's my apologies. Sorry.
No worries. Second of all, I'd just like to highlight it feels really uncomfortable standing behind here asking a question. So what I would like to ask is, how many complaints that you've received from the citizens have actually received an outcome that the citizens are actually happy with? Because this is something that I'm noticing, and many complaints that I'm seeing never get followed through to the point that they get lost in translation, they're not acted upon, and when it's against council staff, it seems to just get pushed aside. And I've noticed this myself many times, which I do co-produce with the council because of, I believe in being part of the solution, but there's still many people who are really scared to actually come forward and actually tell you about their situation because more stuff happens to them. And one response I received when I asked a question to someone in a high position of power in the council, where is the repair from the damage that has been caused from services to the people in processes where they've got things wrong? And the answer was there is none. So there's a lot there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Jones.
As I've not got this information to hand, I will provide a written response to yourself and circulate it to the rest of council members.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, and apologies for getting your name incorrect. I will now read out the third question from Paula Flanagan on behalf of Doncaster Chamber. Support for reopening DSA is high among South Yorkshire's employers. Those businesses believe pace is critical to the project. Pace will instill confidence in airlines, the Civil Aviation Authority, potential staff and the future passengers alike. Pace also matters because trading conditions are currently difficult for businesses. Consequently, our economy is desperate for the stimulus that a reopened airport can provide. What, therefore, are the risks of delaying today's funding decision, and do you agree that further prevarication would send a damaging signal about our region's reputation as a place to do business and to invest? Mayor Jones again, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Paula, on behalf of Doncaster Chamber of Commerce. Let me be perfectly clear and frank with you. Any delay puts at risk the whole project. The option contained within the report before us today is either to progress with the borrowing required for the reopening of DSA or to cease the project at this point. Fully reopened Doncaster Sheffield Airport is my #1 priority. I've said all along that reopening the airport is a massive undertaking, but one that is vital for the future prosperity, well-being and economic growth of our city, our region and UK PLC. We are at the most critical point of the last 3 years. All previous decisions, consultations, due diligence and financial approvals has led us to this point. The decision before us today enables us to progress the vital next steps to fully reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport, such as establishing our airspace and aerodrome certification, ordering the big ticket pieces of equipment such as radar and fire engines, and signing up freight and passenger operators who are waiting in the wings. To delay the funding decision before us today would send a damaging signal and could lose confidence that will ever go ahead, and we cannot let that happen. Reopening Doncaster Sheffield Airport is the single largest investment in Doncaster for more than a generation, with unrivaled economic opportunities for our residents and businesses. With any investment, there is, of course, risk. And as we all know, this is a huge investment. Yes, there are risks, but I would argue that the financial projections based on freight and passenger forecasts are pessimistic and that we will easily exceed them. Our plans have gone through scrutiny and extensive due diligence over the last 12 months, and now I just want to see our airport fully reopened. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms Flanagan, are you in the chamber, and would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Thanks, Ross. As you know, the 3 chambers of commerce in South Yorkshire, the Cutlers Company, Federation of Small Businesses, Make UK, the Institution of Directors and Sheffield Property Association, who collectively represent thousands of businesses, are firmly in favour of reopening the airport. Our economy badly needs the airport, and we urge everybody in the room to take this opportunity to support jobs and growth. And I guess my question is, how will you work with businesses to make the airport a success?
We will continue to work with businesses, the Chamber and our residents. We've already been out, and as you know, we had the big conversation that showed massive public support. We've just gone out with neighbourhood consultation, and again, we've had massive public support. 93% who responded are in favour, and their attitude is, just get on with it, get it open, and I support that concept.
Thank you, and thank you for your question. I will now read out the fourth question from Mr. Mark Chadwick. Over the last 3 years, we've seen the local community, businesses and yourselves work together with one goal, to reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport. We've all learned a lot, and we know not everyone supports this. Some people spread false information or act in their own interests, even in the media. Since the first public meeting in 2022, it has been clear that private investment is needed, and you've said you're open to the right investor at the right time. For DSA to succeed, it needs partners we can trust. What are you looking for in a private investor, and when will that search begin again? Mayor Jones, for you.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Chadwick. Mark, in some ways, it doesn't feel like this has been ongoing for over 3 years now. In other ways, it feels like it's been a long and arduous 3 years since Doncaster Sheffield Airport closed its doors. Yes, there are some who don't support our airport project, including some individuals who seem to simply want to stir up trouble and misinformation, whether that be for financial or political benefit. However, I think it is important to remember and highlight the huge level of support we have to fully reopen our airport. As I've just mentioned, 93% in our most recent survey from over 8,700 responses support the reopening. It continues to be the #1 topic I get asked in the shops, on the doorstep and via email. We have repeatedly said that we want to seek financial investment at the most opportune time. This has been highlighted within the joint statement from myself and the leader of the Reform Group. We will therefore be going out to market again when the time is right. And that time is not now, because our focus is on securing our airspace and aerodrome certification. Without these essentials, then there is no airport. We are engaged with our technical and financial advisors, and they confirm that now is not the time to go out to the market. Not only does this take time, but would be an unhelpful distraction in achieving the key elements needed to fully reopen the airport as soon as possible. The decision of when to go out to the market will be one for this council and Fly Doncaster Limited to make, ensuring we get the best return for our taxpayers. It is important to highlight that to market test would be costly, so it is not something that we should commence without having significant confidence of success. As I've previously mentioned, we would start this process at the most opportune times based on expert advice from our aviation, technical and financial advisors. Thank you for your question, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Mr. Chadwick, are you with the chamber? And would you like to ask a supplementary question? Thank you. Please do.
Afternoon, everybody. Ros, a lot of misinformation, a lot of trouble on social media. We're here today because of issues and hassle. Do we not think that perhaps we ought to be a little bit more transparent and better communications, especially with the general public, so that this doesn't happen again?
I always seek to be transparent, Mark. If there's any improvements that you think we should be making, by all means, just put it in writing to us, because we will communicate all we can within the realms that we've got at that time, always having due regard, of course, to the private confidentiality required when we're actually in talks with airlines and other people.
Thank you for your question. The next question is to Mayor Jones from Mr. Wyoming Yo. Unfortunately, this question was omitted when the agenda papers were first published, but as this question met all the deadline requirements, it has been included for consideration and has been circulated to all members in advance. Doncaster's gain share allocation comprises of 83 million capital, 55 million revenue. Yet the DSA business case forecasts around 81 million of operational losses and proposes capital funded support during those loss-making years. Her Majesty's Treasury rules require strict separation of capital departmental expenditure limits and resource departmental expenditure limit for revenue, and both managing public money and the Prudential Code prohibit the use of capital to underwrite revenue deficits except through narrowly defined, fully recoverable financial instruments subject to the impairment and minimum revenue provision. What specific Treasury Department for Levelling Up and Housing Communities, Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy or legal guidance has the Council sought or received to confirm that this proposed treatment is compliant? Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your question, Mr. Wei Ming Yao. As per the report within today's Council papers, the financial implications provide the answer to your question, but just to highlight, 1, the overall costs and funding are summarised within the report in total cost to the Council of 193 million, which will be funded by CDC and SIMCA as per the report that was agreed at Cabinet earlier this month. The profile of the funding from SIMCA includes both gain share and integrated settlement, meaning that this council will need to borrow money in advance of receiving SIMCA funding. The financial plan shows the borrowing would peak at 57 million in 2032-33 before reducing. The interest costs associated with borrowing are factored into Fly Doncaster financial plan, so all costs associated with the borrowing are covered by the 193 million of funding and won't impact on the wider CDC budget. 2. The Council can only borrow to fund capital expenditure or for cash flow purposes to manage the timing differences between income and expenditure. In this case, the borrowing will be for a mixture of capital and cash flow purposes, as some of the loan will be provided to Fly Doncaster will be used for capital expenditure, and funding from SIMCA won't be received until after CDC have paid Fly Doncaster. Normally, the timing differences between incurred expenditure and received funding are short, but in this case they will be longer. 3. Treasury Management seeks to optimise the Council's cash flow and secure the most effective arrangements to support long-term funding requirements. The Council's Treasury Management Strategy Statement is approved annually by full Council and sets the strategy for management of the Council finances and provides a framework for the operation of the Treasury Management function within the Council. The Treasury Management Strategy Statement sets indicators relating to borrowing limits, including the operational boundary and authorised limits for external borrowing. In practice, the Council is well within those indicators, as reserves and other cash-backed balances enable the Council to maintain an under-borrowed position. This is likely to continue into the medium term, but borrowing for the airport is a medium to long-term proposal. The impact of borrowing for the airport will be reflected in the annual Treasury Management Statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Mr. Yao, are you in the chamber, and would you like to ask a supplementary question? Okay, thank you. I understand that Mr. Yao is not with us. I will now read out the final public question from Ms. Amy Walker to Councillor Sue Farmer, Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Families. What do the Council plan to do in regards to schools in the local borough denying parents of children with special educational needs access to referrals and educational health and care plans? Parents go to doctors for support or referrals for neurodivergent children struggling, only to be told school are responsible, and then when they ask schools, they always seem to make excuses as to why they can't help. It's been a long-standing issue, and I want to know what the Council plan to do to tackle it. Councillor Farmer, would you care to respond?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Amy. Doncaster Council takes seriously any suggestion that children with special education needs and disabilities are not receiving timely access to assessment and support. A parent has the right to request an education, health and care needs assessment and does not have to request this via the school. This can be done via the Education, Health and Care Hub, which is the Council's online portal that enables any parent or carer with internet access to request the assessment. We would advise the parent to contact Doncaster's Send Information Service and Support Service via the local offer for independent advice and support. We recognise that schools and settings have primary responsibility for identifying and meeting pupils' SEN through graduated approach. The Council has statutory duties under the Children and Families Act 2014 and the SEN Code of Practice to ensure requests for assessments are considered fairly and promptly, to intervene where required and to secure appropriate provision where needs are identified. A request to assess a child who may be neurodivergent must come from the education provider. Where the child or young person attends a setting, to proceed as part of the developmental needs-led pathway. Separate guidance is available for children and young people who are electively home educated or not in education, employment or training. It is important to note that a child or young person does not need a formal diagnosis in order to request a statutory health and care needs assessment. However, parents should not be deterred from requesting an assessment where their child does not have a specific diagnosis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Farmer. Ms Walker is not in the chamber today, but we will ensure a copy of the response to her question is forwarded to her following the meeting. Thank you. That leads us on to item 7, South Yorkshire Airport City borrowing approval. Before I hand over to Mayor Jones to introduce this report, I would just like to ask Scott Focus to remind us about some procedural issues. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, the preference here is always to take decisions in public and to express open governance. However, if anything of an exempt, confidential or commercially sensitive nature arises during the decision, it may be necessary to adjourn the meeting and ask the press and public to leave the chamber whilst we continue in private session. Once all confidential matters have then been considered, we would invite everybody back into the chamber and continue the meeting in public and vote. Secondly, as this decision relates to the Council's budget, there is a legal requirement to record in the minutes how each member has voted on the item. There will therefore be a recorded vote on the matter. And thirdly, I'd like to remind you of some advice which I've already circulated through your groups. The decision being asked of you today is to approve the Council to undertake borrowing of £57 million in support of the South Yorkshire Airport City project. To clarify, the decision in front of you is not whether or not to support the airport project. It is not a decision to reopen the airport. It's not a decision to utilise Fly Doncaster as the company to run the airport. It's not a decision to accept funding from Simca. It's not a decision to utilise the Simca gain share funding on the airport project. And it is nothing to do with any operational decisions around the airport. Those decisions have already been taken by the Cabinet on November the 5th of this year. Under Doncaster's constitution, those decisions are an executive decision and were taken by the Mayor and her Cabinet. The period for that decision to be called in for further consideration has now passed. The report in front of you today explains the decision being taken and why borrowing is required, and there is an expectation, as in all matters, that all members will have read their papers in advance. The decision is a change to the Council's approved budget, which is why the Council needs to take a decision on it. The decision is proposed by the elected Mayor Ros Jones in line with the Council's budget and policy framework. The borrowing decision has been considered by OSMC prior to today's meeting. There is no option for full Council to defer the decision today. There will simply be a vote. where it can be accepted, rejected, or members may abstain. A simple majority is required to pass the proposal. In the event that the decision is rejected, Council will be asked during this meeting to provide reasons for that rejection, which the elected mayor will be given time to consider before returning to a further Council meeting to respond, at which point Council will be required to vote again on the borrowing proposal. Should the decision in front of you be accepted by a majority decision, it will be implemented immediately. As I say, if the proposal is not supported, there will be an opportunity for Mayor Jones to amend and present her proposals to Council again at a future date. In order to do that, this Council must clearly set out its reasons for objecting to the proposal. At that point in time, there would be an opportunity to clarify those objections by way of a motion, should the recommendation not be supported. I hope that was understood. I appreciate this is not a simple thing, and that for many members, this is the first time you will have voted on a budget, and indeed this is a slightly different budget proposal to that we see on an annual basis when we agree the revenue budget. I'm obviously happy to continue to provide further advice throughout the meeting should it occur. I'm hoping that came through. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, for that clarification. Mayor Jones, could I ask you to introduce this report, please?
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks Council approval for the borrowing required to implement the decisions we agreed at Cabinet on the 5th of November to achieve the full reopening of Doncaster Sheffield Airport. The profile of the grant funding from Simca means that City Doncaster Council will need to borrow money in advance of receiving Simca funding. To fund the upfront capital investment and initial cash flow shortfalls, which were detailed in the Cabinet report. The financial plan shows that borrowing would peak at 57 million in 32-33 before reducing. The total estimated costs are 193 million over the course of the programme to get the airport fully operational and into profit, including interest costs associated with borrowing, which will be funded as detailed in the report from previously committed funding from this council totalling 17 million and grant funding from South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority totalling 176 million over 24 years. Borrowing will be undertaken as part of normal treasury management activities, which seek to optimise the council's cash flow and secure the most effective arrangements to support long-term funding requirements. The council's treasury management strategy statement is approved annually by council and sets a strategy for management of the council's finances and provides a framework for the operation of the treasury management function within the council. At its meeting on the 3rd of November, Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee considered the full report titled South Yorkshire Airport City Approvals Required to Support the Full Reopening of the Airport. This was in advance of it being considered by Cabinet on the 5th of November and today's full council report to consider the borrowing decision. I would like to thank Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee for their response, including details on the range of questions asked to seek assurance and understanding of the implications of the decision moving forward and queries in relation to ongoing public engagement. I would also like to acknowledge the Leader of the Opposition, Councillor Aston, for the leadership he has shown, putting party politics aside in the interests of the residents and businesses of Doncaster. We are in agreement on the borrowing required to fully reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport and that external private investment will be needed at the most opportune time to both management, public sector risk and deliver value for money for taxpayers. For the record, the decision in front of us today is consistent with the already agreed policy on public sector procurement and South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority funding approvals. Furthermore, I launched a further public conversation on the 10th of November to gauge the public's views on the operation of the airport As of today, it has received over 8,700 responses, of which 93% support the full reopening of Doncaster Sheffield Airport. To provide some feedback to Council, I have a few examples of what people are saying. Sheila says, "Well done, we need this airport open to ensure economic progress for our county. Do what is necessary to provide us with this airport." The Hilton Garden Inn at Doncaster Racecourse has said, "This project isn't just for Doncaster or South Yorkshire, but the neighbouring regions and counties. Let's get freight flying." And I cannot emphasise enough the number of people who are just saying, just get on with it, and let's talk, more action. So let's listen to our residents and our businesses, agree to the funding package before us today, and give the green light to fully reopen Doncaster Sheffield Airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Councillor Gaiaston, I understand you are seconding the report.
I am indeed, Chair. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm proud to second this report because it speaks to the hopes and the ambitions of the people of Doncaster. Let's not forget that earlier this year, the Mayor campaigned clearly and openly to reopen the airport. We might debate the date, Ross, but there you go. And the people of Doncaster supported her. They voted for the airport to be reopened. This is not about the personal views of individuals in this chamber. We were all elected to represent the people of Doncaster, and their vote must be respected. That's how democracy works. Our airport is more than bricks and tarmacs. It's a gateway to opportunity, a driver of jobs, and a symbol of regional pride. When Doncaster Sheffield Airport closed, it wasn't just flights that we lost. It was livelihoods, investment, and some confidence in our future. Today, we have a chance to put that right. This is not about party politics. It's about standing together for Doncaster and South Yorkshire. But a project of this nature does come with risks. I'm pleased to say that after discussions with Mayor Jones, DSA will be open to investors once the project receives CAA approval, and therefore limiting CDC's exposure to long-term financial risk. The joint statement from myself and Mayor Ros Jones sets out a clear, responsible plan to reopen the airport and secure its long-term success. We will do this with strong governance, independent advice, and full transparency because taxpayers deserve nothing less. Reopening the airport will mean thousands of jobs, not just at the airport itself, but across the supply chain, in tourism, and in local business. It will mean economic growth, attracting investment, and connecting Doncaster to the world. And it will restore a sense of pride in our city, showing that we work together, we can achieve great things. Yes, borrowing will be required, but this is an investment in our future. We will manage the public sector risk carefully. We recognise that the public purse is not a money tree, and we understand that some community projects may need to be postponed as a result of prioritising the airport. This has been a cause of much discussion, sleepless nights, and some heated debate. But it will always come back to the one fact. The people of Doncaster voted to reopen this airport. The scale of this initiative is enormous, and naturally there is nervousness about the work ahead. That's why private investment will be essential to ensure value for money and minimise risk to the taxpayer. The timeline is clear. A soft market test within 6 months of securing civil aviation approvals, followed by a formal procurement process if the advice supports it. Colleagues, this is a moment to be united and to deliver for the people we serve. Let's seize this opportunity and bring Doncaster Airport back to life. Thank you.
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor Aston and Mayor Jones. I'm now going to open questions and people can say and we can debate. I suspect that it's one of the most important decisions this chamber's made in ever, if not in a long time. Bearing in mind a lot of people may want to speak, I just want to remind people that there is a limit of 5 minutes, and if you're quicker than that, that'd be wonderful. So thank you. So I will open the Councillor Jane Kidd's first. Councillor Kidd.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to reiterate that the case for the reopening of the airport has been extensively scrutinised by members of all parties, partners, officers, other professionals and experts in the relevant fields. Simca found that it represented good value for money and a positive cost-benefit ratio. The time has come to make this decision to allow borrowing to kick-start the airport project. It can't be put off. I believe that every member in this chamber should vote in favour today in order to support Doncaster and its residents who are overwhelmingly in favour and want us to just get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kidd. Councillor Rachel Reid, please.
Thank you. Mayor, I want to be absolutely clear about my position on this gain share proposal. I am deeply reluctant to vote this through because councillors have still not been provided with the full financial detail, proper scrutiny or a complete business case that justifies committing such a significant amount of public money. This lack of transparency has been a consistent concern and it is not good governance. However, despite these serious reservations, I will vote in favour today for one reason only. I refuse to put Doncaster at risk of losing access to funding that could bring long-term benefits to our city. My vote is not an endorsement of the process, it is a decision made in the interests of residents who cannot afford to miss out on potential investment. I expect, going forward, a far higher standard of openness, accountability and detail from this administration. Doncaster deserves nothing less. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Glyn Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. DSA, Doncaster Sheffield Airport, Finninley, as I instinctively call it, is the people's airport and needs taking forward to produce the best opportunity for jobs and growth in a generation. With a predicted 5,000 direct jobs and a similar number of external indirect jobs, this opportunity is desperately wanted to succeed by the public and businesses of the City of Doncaster. We believe this initiative will increase the investment within our city substantially and promote Doncaster across the globe. This will enable this South Yorkshire region, the only one currently without an operational airport, to take off and fly. No? Okay. Bad joke. Because we believe it should take off and fly. The decision to approve borrowing is required to move this project forward today and should be fully supported by this chamber. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Jones is on fire. Jokes and ho-ho-hos, and I think I shall limit his speaking time. Councillor Allen, please.
Oh, thank you, Chair. I have to say hats off to you both, Councillors Aston and obviously Ros, for the sheer level of political somersaults you must have gone through this week. I mean, it must have exhausted you both. You should be renamed Mr. and Mrs. Machiavelli, because I think you could put him to shame for the way this has gone on. It just highlights absolutely the inept way we go about decision-making in this town. And it absolutely does also, if I'm allowed one partisan comment, demonstrate the absolute futility a lot of voters must feel by putting reform councillors in place when they've effectively been strong-armed in this way. There's been absolutely no true scrutiny here at all, and for other councillors to claim there has been, it's just a total whitewash. Economic concepts I care about in this town is how do we grow our aggregate demand over the future years. And borrowing in this way to do this is not the way to open the airport. I'm voting against it. I'll just draw councillors' attention to section 13. Post-2034, the estimated borrowing required reduces as the remaining gain share grant net of interest payments is utilised to make the repayments until eventually no further borrowing is required. Please hang on to that sentence, because in future we will come back and look at what has happened and compare it. This proposal effectively is rather similar to just taking out a credit card to pay someone else's mortgage to have absolutely no beneficial interest in the asset at the end of it. The only winners here are Peel, and I suspect that politically that's what they wanted all along. And I think that, frankly, with further scrutiny, You know, another winner perhaps you might well suggest is the Private Eye magazine, because I think they're going to sell more and more copies over the years than we will find any economic growth out of pursuing silly policies like this one.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Dave Nevitt, please.
Thank you, Chair. Council members across the floor, it gives me great pleasure to support Agenda Item 7 and ask you also to support the opening of DSA and the Airport City proposal here before us today. This project to reopen Doncaster's airport will be the quickest reopening of an airport ever in the UK. In 1909, Doncaster Airport, sited near the racecourse, held an air show open to the public. This was the first air show in the country, and the history of flights has changed over the years. The venue of the airport has also changed, and DSA is now on the site of the former Finley base, with its history being so important to Doncaster. With a substantial runway, Concorde and the Space Shuttle were able to divert and land safely here if needed. Since the closure of the RAF military base, it made sense to use the runway, and our thanks went out to former MP Caroline Flint for her support, with Doncaster's help, to get the airport open, which happened. Since it closed, it has not been utilised fully, and this to me is an absolute waste, to leave an asset idle. I looked up the other day, and there were 9 aircraft up there in the sky. We should be part of that economic value and enterprise for Doncaster. Today we are deciding to invest into a huge opportunity that will enhance Doncaster, that will bring investment, jobs, growth and enhanced wages into Doncaster. Your decision today to agree on the recommendation will show your commitment to Doncaster. The airport brought 800 direct jobs and 2,700 indirect jobs, and we lost those positions. Some people moved away to maintain their skills, so we also lost jobs elsewhere. Supply chain positions with local spend also considerably reduced. Had the airport remained open to the anticipated footfall, it would have potentially grown from 1.3 million to 2 million, and freight could have increased to 40,000 tonnes. Nearby local hotel bookings plummeted, and we have lost those opportunities. Having the airport open brought companies to the site, it brought businesses to Doncaster district, and it enhanced the South Yorkshire region. Had it remained open, increased jobs would have also been needed. I spoke to a person with a delivery operator's sweatshirt on whilst in Devon on holiday and asked him and his company to come to use Doncaster Airport for that global company as a logistics hub. He was supportive, as was subsequently his company. Just see, a chance chat 300 miles away brought a global company to ours and their attention. We have to look outside Doncaster to check out the perspective about airport investment. Heathrow Airport wants to build a 3rd runway. The estimated funding required at present would be 21 billion, but the expansion in its entirety is circa 49 billion. A new Gatwick runway would be 2.2 billion. We have seen a lack of investment in Doncaster since the pit closed. This is our opportunity to reshape our economy, to speculate, to accumulate and see the full reopening of Doncaster Sheffield Airport. We in the Council Chamber need to back our airport, our businesses, our residents and our future, the children out there in Doncaster, and to invest in Doncaster. Me personally, Councillor David Nevitt, resident of Edenthorpe and Kirk Sandal Ward, the Mayor, the Cabinet, the Labour Group, all support Doncaster, our airport, our businesses, our residents and our children. Council, it's your turn. Support the recommendation too. I wish also to thank Christian Foster for the recent visit to DSA and all his explanations on site. Most appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Levitt. Councillor Jane Cox, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to put on record that I have never been involved in anything as toxic as this vote. It's just been mind-bogglingly awful. Of course we support the airport, but we said from the beginning not at any cost to taxpayers. The three chambers support the reopening, but only Doncaster pays. It makes no sense. How can we put this town into further debt when we know there are private investors prepared to speak to the council, but the council will not speak to them? 24/7 freight over Finningley Ward is not what is being sold to our residents. This feels like a sellout. Vote reform, get Labour.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor David Knight, please.
Thank you, Chair. We all desire the reopening of the airport, but I point out here that this council has a responsibility to achieve best value, a duty under the Local Government Act of 1999. I ask, why have offers of private investments not been declared?
Thank you. Sorry, that was a bit of an abrupt ending for me there, and so I missed that. Thank you. Councillor Rob Dennis, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to echo what Councillor Nevitt said about the amazing visit to DSA on Tuesday that was offered by council officers. And I'd like to address Councillor Nick Allen's point about the lack of information that council has been access to. There's been a whole plethora and litany of briefings and opportunities for councillors to access information from officers. And actually, if Councillor Allen had been there on the visit on Tuesday, he'd have heard directly from council officers about how exactly they plan to increase the amount of freight in particular coming through the airport site. And actually, on Councillor Allen's point about getting partisan, I'd like to reflect back the somersault comment back at him and his party. And actually, if it was a former MP for Doncaster, Don Valley, that had been in charge of reopening this exact same plan, they'd have green-lighted it straight away. After the visit to the airport on Tuesday, I put up a Facebook post about the visit, and it had overwhelmingly a large number of positive comments and reactions on it. And similar to the Mayor Jones, I'll read out a few now. Fabulous, get it open, and bugger all those who are against it. Full stop. Fantastic, sooner the better. Thanks to all involved in making this happen. And the last one I'll read is, stop having useless meetings and get on with it. It's similar to what Mayor Jones said, the survey feedback that the council have had, overwhelming numbers of people have said they want the airport reopened. I want to thank our fantastic officer team who councillors have had full access to over the last quite considerable number of months. And again, council officer on Tuesday offered his personal number to all councillors there to ask any questions. So the last thing for me is get on board this flight, work together, and let's get it done for Doncaster.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. I just see a bit of an IT query here. Councillor Ransom, your name flashed and has gone away. So did you want to speak on this matter? Okay.
Thank you, Chair. An airport for Doncaster would be welcome, but at what cost to the taxpayers? We are public servants. We're elected as members or we're paid officers, but we are public servants. Doncaster Council has a poor record of running businesses, housing stock, leisure centres, old people's homes, earth centres, football stadiums. They all seem to be sent off somewhere else. We've all been fed the rhetoric, punching above our weight, once in a lifetime experience, you'll be flying out of Doncaster next year, a people mandate. This is a Labour mandate, not caring how much it costs the people of Doncaster. This venture is a volatile picture. Our paid outside auditors are expressing grave concerns. It is littered with red flags. No transparency, the fragility of the financial report, lack of expertise in running an airport, conflict of interest for board members. I will be voting no for this loan.
Thank you, Councillor Ransom. Councillor Steve Cox, please.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say out, if I'm honest, but I think it was after Councillor Dennis mentioned the freight part. And we know in the stuff with overview and scrutiny, with everything. Ross, can you tell me where you've explained to residents about the freight increases in your consultation? Where is your consultation? What is the wording of your consultation? And how many people just Doncaster residents were part of that consultation? They are the people that are going to end up with this burden. So they need to know. And that is why I think fundamentally, same as Councillor Knight said, where is the best value? Where have all of the best value things, all of that come into it? A business plan was put forward to Simca. They didn't like it, so they did another one. We've seen this information, and you can only make a decision on the information that's been seen. There are so many red flags, I am just absolutely blown away. But I absolutely won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Councillor Neil Wood, please.
Thank you, Chair. There's not a person in Doncaster, I don't think there's anybody in this chamber who don't want to see airport opened properly and cost effectively and through full transparency using overview scrutiny and audit. It's interesting what was said in the OSMC regarding the audit report from the external auditor saying that there's a conflict of interest having our executives as the people on the board. What has been noted, and it's been noted from a lot of different areas, that the airport has suddenly become the only development in Doncaster. There's lots of other infrastructure projects that are available to Doncaster that can make Doncaster great. And for whatever reason, whether it's hoodwinked, whether there's some sort of propaganda machine out there that's trying to work against the people of Doncaster, these other businesses aren't given a look in. It's all Peel, it's all airport, it's all based around the airport. And we can't forget that Doncaster's airport isn't the only thing that the people of Doncaster desire. There's lots of other projects that we should be supporting, and it really does drive home more and more when you're hearing that there's developments all over Doncaster that are being put on hold from officers within the council, or they feel like they're being put on hold because there's too much concentration on getting Doncaster Airport open. There's other things that we need to consider. When we talk about transparency, we've had lots of meetings with officers. Even today, officers have still failed to answer questions that have been put to them twice regarding money that's being put into it. I'm looking up at the people who are actually on the board, because they promised, they were sat where the cabinet are now, and they promised us information last Thursday. We've still not received it. One of the comments were, I've had this question before. Yeah, you did have it. You had it about 4 weeks before that from me again, and it's still not been answered. So when we start talking about transparency, we need to make sure that everybody in this chamber are involved with the opening of the airport. It's unfair for everybody in here to be taking ownership of this airport but not being consulted on it. And like I said earlier, I think everybody does want to be a part of it. I'm glad to hear that freight is going to be a big part of it, because my mum voted for Ros Jones on the back of flying out to Doncaster. I've had to order a package case to put her into to send it to Mexico for next year, because she were expecting to fly to Mexico on a passenger plane. And believe me, that package, I'm going to be charging Doncaster Council for it. Yeah, it is returnable, so she can go another time if we're still not open following year. But joking apart, I think people do want to see Doncaster Airport open. But you're all nodding, and I'm glad to see you all nodding. I hope you take that into consideration when we want to be part and parcel of the movement forward on this project. That's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wood. Councillor Marriott, please.
Thank you, Chair. What are we going to do in the new year if Cardiff Airport lose their case for using public funded money? The judge is going to set a precedent, and that will directly affect the reopening of DSA.
Thank you. Are there any other members wishing to speak on this matter? Thank you very much. Okay, so I will now ask Mayor Jones for her right to reply.
As there's been some technical questions, I'm going to pass this to the officers concerned in respect of the Cardiff Airport and what would happen. Openness and transparency. I think someone can read out the full list of the information that's been put, and as one party deems not to be given the specific advice and taken through everything that's going forward, they're actually coming into this forum without having the ability to do it. They also infer, one or two of them, that they've never been kept informed. They have been informed as ward members right the way through the process by Christian Foster. However, when they're saying there's been no transparency, total transparency that's been going on here, the only area where transparency can't be put forward is when we're having private conversations, and it's got to be held in private until agreements are reached. With that, can I pass it over and you pick up the technical aspects, please?
Debbie Hogg, I'm the SRO for the project and Exec Director for Corporate Resources. So I'm going to take the question, I think, that was in relation to the subsidy. I think that's, Mayor Jones, that's what you're asking for. As colleagues have seen, I think we identified it in the Cabinet report that went on the 5th of November, the Council at the point of making an award, so that will happen at a point later, needs to submit to the subsidy database the amount that's actually awarded. At that point in time, there's 30 days at which another party have the ability to make a challenge. There's a process to go through from that point onwards. They can receive, there's a period where further information can be requested, and then from that point onwards, the Competition Appeals Tribunal will consider the case that's before them. In previous reports, as Mayor Jones indicated, we've set out the information that was submitted to the public subsidy through the public subsidy process, and there was a number of points that came out of that. We're updating our public subsidy application in light of those 6 points, and we are also seeking KC's advice in terms of support of that. We will only know what happens once we make that application to the database, what the circumstances are. So it will be a sort of a level of unknown at that point in time, but needless to say, we are preparing our case as best we can in terms of based on the application we made and that went through that due process. As I say, there were 6 points that came out of that, and then we're building on that. So that's basically the process we'll go through. It's worth people knowing that this is an untried arrangement. Public subsidy, as it's set out, is there's not a lot of case law that's in available to parties. So as I said, we'll just go through that process once the award takes place.
Thank you for that. I believe transparency has gone on throughout. I think we've followed the proper due diligence in all the aspects we've done on the airport. There will be passenger flights going, so hold your statement, hold your case so that you can help your mum get on the plane once they're out flying. We've got to get this through. But let me remind Council, this is about increasing borrowing of our capital programme. You are not voting on reopening of Doncaster Airport. This is a financial aspect we require to do it. I heard someone say there's no beneficial interest. I don't think they've ever been listening to the numbers of jobs and growth that the airport will become the catalyst for, because it will be the wider area as well that brings the jobs and growth. And that will be jobs and growth, highly paid, highly skilled jobs. To say what's happened is toxic, I believe we've complied with every governance that we are required to apply with. And if you've got anything that you can identify that shows non-compliance, please bring them forward and refer them to the relevant officers, because this is just a statement without the backing of the decisions that's gone forward. We've got a string of lists of every area that we've put all the information out. But with that, I'm delighted to hear that the reopening of the project is a project of national significance. It is Doncaster's wanting the growth. South Yorkshire has actually pitched in, government has pitched in, because we want good growth, we want good investment, and it's about wider than party politics. This is about us delivering for the businesses, for the people of Doncaster, and therefore using such a platform as this, and this is about approving an amendment to the borrowing of the capital programme. I find astounding. And I hear people say, I will be voting for it, but not good governance. Governance is checked all the way through and will continue to be checked. And therefore, fully reopening the airport is set to be the largest single investment in Doncaster for more than a generation, with unrivalled economic opportunities for our residents and businesses. It has gone through scrutiny and extensive due diligence over the last 12 months. Now, I just want to see the airport open fully. Quite simply, without taking out borrowing, this airport cannot proceed because the funding mechanism of gain share coming in means it comes in year on year. This is the magnitude of the decision before full council today. I know that the airport can be a huge success for Doncaster, South Yorkshire and the North, and I hope full council will help us to proceed and give their support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. We've had a debate, and people were offered the opportunity to speak, and I'm delighted to say that many members across this chamber took part in that debate. We then moved on to the right of reply from Mayor Jones, and subsequently a couple of councillors have asked to speak. That cannot happen because we've moved on through the debate. I hope you understand that. And so I will now move on. As I mentioned earlier, we will now undertake a recorded vote for this proposal. We shall now move to the vote. Remember, green button to vote yes, red button to vote no, and white button to abstain. I am now opening the vote. Okay, right, I will now close the vote. Okay, so as you can see up on the screen, there are 42 votes supporting and 2 abstentions.
No.
Sorry, because it says 2 on the bottom. No abstentions and 9 noes. So the motion is carried by 42 to 9. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to item 8, Statement of Licensing Policy 2026, Licensing Act 2003. Can I invite Councillor Glyn Jones to propose this report? Councillor Jones, please.
Yes, Chair. Statement of Licensing Policy 2026 under the Licensing Act 2003. One of the key functions of the Council in its capacity as the licensing authority is to prepare and publish a statement of licensing policy which sets out the basis upon which the authority will make its licensing decisions in relation to the following licensable activities. The first being the sale by retail and or supply of alcohol. The second, the provision of regulated entertainment. And thirdly, the provision of late night refreshment. The Licensing Act 2003 requires that local licensing authorities review and determine their statement of licensing policy every 5 years. There are 4 licensing objectives set out in the Act which must be addressed, which the authority's statement of licensing policy, namely, first one, the prevention of crime and disorder. Second, public safety. Third, prevention of public nuisance. And lastly, the protection of children from harm. This policy, this revised policy, has been the subject of a statutory consultation which sought the views of responsible authorities, the licensed trade, legal representatives, elected members and the wider public. This revised policy remains largely unchanged from the current version. Details of the changes made before and following the consultation are documented within the report. This revised policy has been considered by overview and scrutiny, and indeed the Licensing Committee, who have recommended that this policy be approved by full council. It is recommended that members of the council, 1, consider the reviewed statement of policy under the Licensing Act 2003. 2, consider the responses received during the consultation. 3, acknowledge that the policy has been considered at the relevant committees prior to council. And 4, approve the adoption of this reviewed policy. Council are asked to approve this revised policy, which will then take effect from the 7th of January 2026. I commend this report to this chamber. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Is this report seconded? Oh, sorry, Councillor Nevitt. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As a former chair of the Licensing Committee, we look through this document on a regular basis, and there's red lines through a lot of the paperwork with a lot of words changed. They're usually only minor changes, so I commend this and second this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nevitt. Does any member wish to speak on this item? Thank you. Do you need a reply? There's no questions.
Yeah, this report, or versions of it, have become a regular visitor to this chamber over the years since the 2003 Licensing Act came into being. I think it came into being actually when I was chair of licensing back then, so hey-ho. It has been through all the statutory scrutiny and revision bodies and committees, so therefore, Chair, I commend that this revised policy be voted through by this chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded that Council approve the recommendations within the report. The reviewed policy be adopted by the Council. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. The Statement of Licensing Policy 2026 is approved. Item 9. Findings of a meeting of the Audit Hearing Subcommittee held on the 24th of September 2025 to consider complaints against Councillor Mark Broadhurst of Attfield Town Council and Doncaster City Council. We have before us a report that details the findings of the Audit Hearing Subcommittee following its investigation and complaints made under the Council Members' Code of Conduct against Councillor Mark Broadhurst. The subcommittee determined that Councillor Broadhurst has breached the Members' Code of Conduct and recommends that Council note the findings of the subcommittee and recommends that Councillor Broadhurst should not be appointed to any Council committee positions outside bodies for the remainder of his current electoral term and with immediate effect. If any member wishes to speak on this item, please indicate by pressing your button on the console. Councillor Dennis, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad the subcommittee unanimously condemned the actions of Councillor Broadhurst. To quote the report's findings, the comments made by Councillor Broadhurst were clearly racist, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic and highly offensive. As elected councillors, our role is serve all the residents in our wards, regardless of their political beliefs, creed or ethnicity. And this is a role which we are proud to uphold as elected members. In light of this, I would like to ask Audit Committee whether there are scheduled to be any further investigations into potentially racist content shared from Reform councillors.
Thank you. Is there a proposal to agree the recommendations and proposals detailed at paragraph 4 of the report? Oh, Steve, sorry, I apologise. Steve
Thank
Cox.
you. Could we just amend what Rob said and say all councillors, please?
Councillor Riesbeck, please.
Can I just thank Rob, because Reform feel like Nigel Farage just sat over here now and Keir Starmer sat on the other side. It's exactly the kind of response that you'd expect from people, always aiming things at Reform. There might be one candidate, that were an ex-Reform candidate, that might have been seen to have done wrong, but to tar everybody else on this side of the room is totally out of order.
Okay. Councillor Riesbeck, please. Order. Councillor Riesbeck, please.
What I've wanted to be said has been said anyway.
Right. Okay. Yes, at this point, I would just like to bring in Scott.
Councillors, particularly Councillor Dennis, as monitoring officer, one of my roles is to consider and maintain the code of conduct wherever possible for all councillors, both in this chamber and in the various towns and parish councils across Doncaster. That role is done apolitically. The membership of political party of any of the councillors for whom complaints come my way is done apolitically. It does not matter what party they are in, and quite frankly, historically, I have seen behaviour from councillors who ascribe themselves to various political parties, or indeed none, that falls below the standards that most other councillors, including very much the majority of people in this chamber, uphold every day on their daily basis. I don't keep a record of what party they are in at the point that the complaint comes in or the point that they made the allegation, and I'm quite happy that when I publish my annual report to the Audit Committee, which I've done now for 9 years since I took up the role, doesn't include the party affiliation of them either. That's for other people to make decisions on, and indeed some people start in one party and end up in a different one or none by the end of the process. I have to say, and I say this on an annual basis, that of the hundreds of people in this borough or this city now that take part in public life and refer to themselves as councillors, having been either elected or co-opted onto their councils, the behaviour of 99.9% of them is absolutely exemplary. Only one or two fall beneath those. I receive complaints semi-regularly. Many of those complaints are not around the actual code of conduct. They are in relation to people who do not ascribe to their political beliefs or do not like the way in which they've made a decision. I'm afraid to say I'll probably get some after the last item because people voted for or didn't vote for the airport. That is just what I get. And in each one of those complaints, I discuss it with the council's independent person, and the reason that we do that is that he is independent, he is not part of any political party, and we move it away from the political arena. There is a proud history in this town of not taking many decisions to the audit hearing subcommittee. I find that most councillors, if they have breached, or if we consider that they may have breached the code of conduct, most councillors are happy to accept that they have done wrong and apologise to the people that they have offended. Unfortunately, what I see at the moment, I'm sorry I'm going on, but I probably feel quite passionate about this. What I've seen at the moment is a bit of a social media pile-on. I'm seeing people who are offended by things that they have seen fourth and fifth hand in reports made much later, often months later, and oftentimes the matter is being dealt with by others. If councillors are genuine in their acceptance of an error, that will be taken into account. I'm sorry, that was a very, very long answer to a very, very short question. It is done apolitically. It isn't done party politically. I don't ascribe it to anyone else. It is about the member and their behaviour, not whatever badge they had on the ballot form at the point of election or co-option. I hope that answers the question in relation to the wider point.
Thank you, Scott. As an independent chair, personally, I think it's good to speak about it publicly. However, I don't want it to continue the agenda. So thank you, Scott, for summing up, and I think we'll move on. Oh, yes, sorry, there's no thing, but please do so.
Thank you, Chair. Scott, thank you for your response on that, and it's heard and understood. I was asked to clarify and retract my comments. I will expand upon my reasons for speaking today. As the monitoring officer knows, last month, I believe, I submitted a complaint to the monitoring officer regarding a Facebook post or two about one of the Reform councillors. To date, I have not received any response as to what happened with that complaint. I understood it was taken upon. However, I believe there's 20 days in which I am then supposed to have what has happened from that complaint. That has not happened. I followed up with the monitoring officer about that earlier on this week. Further to that, I will give examples of Facebook posts from councillors which I believe are racist. On the 16th of November...
Scott, sorry, can I just say that I don't think this is the business of this chamber at this particular time. I think that if you've got any issue around procedure, then I would politely ask you to speak to Scott outside the chamber. We need to move on. Not for this chamber and not for today. Thank you. Right, I'm going to move on because this, and I recognise people want to speak, but we just need to, because it's going to go all the time. No, there's no reply. Yeah. Okay. I think we should just move on. I'm not taking any sides, and I agree there's different views, and people have done things that I haven't done, apologise, and I haven't done, and I get it. But I don't think it's for part of the business today. We're looking at this particular report about a particular incident, and it's, yeah, no, absolutely. And as I said, if things need to move on in terms of procedural, then you need to see Scott outside the meeting. Thank you. Is there a proposal to agree the recommendations and proposal detailed at paragraph 4 of the report? Does anybody want to propose that? Thank you all. We'll just move on and agree it then, right? Okay, so it's agreed and seconded. We're moving on. Thank you. Item 10, 6 monthly review of proportionality and allocation of seats on committees and subcommittees of the Council. This report seeks to review the proportional allocation of seats on committees and subcommittees as a consequence of changes to the political composition of the authority. It also confirms changes to memberships of committees and subcommittees as advised by Reform UK Group Leader and proposes the appointments to the Chair and Vice Chair of the Chief Officers Appeals Committee and the Chief Officers Investigatory Subcommittee. Following the publication of this Council agenda, a number of additional committee membership changes have taken place, which are in addition to those detailed at paragraph 25 of the report. Some of these changes have also resulted in vacancies for chairs and vice chairs that are in addition to those detailed at paragraph 26 of the report, including the Chair of Audit Committee, the Chair of Elections and Democratic Structures Committee, and the Vice Chair of Chief Officers Appointments Committee. These additional changes include proposals to the recently vacated Chair and Vice Chair positions are to be detailed in document headed Addendum to Agenda Item 10, copies of which have been tabled at today's meeting. Before I ask Council to vote on the recommendations in the report and the Chair and Vice Chair positions detailed in the addendum, does any member wish to speak on this item? Councillor Rachel Reid, please.
Thank you, Chair. It's just the proposed to take off Councillor Jason Charity to replace on his committees. I will not be voting for that to happen, and I would urge other councillors to do the same. Thank you.
Is there a proposal to agree the recommendation in the report? Okay. A proposal agreed the recommendation in the report. Note the additional changes to committee memberships and agreed the proposals to appoint chairs and vice chairs detailed in the amendment. Is that so? Is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Is that agreed? No? Okay.
We'll have a vote.
We'll have a vote. It's fine, we'll have a vote. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. I've took advice and we'll be having a vote to agree or not to agree the proposal, and that is for everybody. So, and not individually. So I would like to open the vote. Green would be to accept the proposal, white to abstain, and red to disagree. Now, as soon as we're ready, we can open the vote. Oh, it's open already. There you go. Sorry. Okay, thank you. We'll close the vote. Okay, so we have 16 in favour, 1 abstention, and 31 against. So, basically saying the motion in the room is that not to remove Jason. Is it not?
The motion is to vote down the whole of it.
To vote down all of it. Okay. So, okay, that's right. So that's been voted down. So now we need an amendment to that. So do we need an adjournment for 10 minutes so that groups can come and decide who they wish to put forward so we can reconsider that? Okay, so we'll adjourn for 10 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. We return to item 10, the 6-month review of proportionality and allocation of seats on committees and subcommittees of the Council. Following various discussions and an extended adjournment, it is my view that we don't consider the amended places, and that's adjourned until the next council meeting. And so, therefore, I wish to look at the report in its context as it is and discuss that. And then the other items will come back at a later time when people have had sufficient time to work out who they want to position for those places. So, just looking at the report in itself, is there a proposal to agree the recommendations in the report, less the amendment, the addendum, sorry. It's a bit too much Latin for me, that one. And so is there a proposal just to move on and accept the report and do the addendum next time at next meeting? Thank you. All those in favour of that, we okay? Thank you very much. Moving on then to item 11, appointment of Independent Remuneration Panel IRP members. We have a report seeking a delegation from Council to the Monitoring Officer and Service Director for Legal and Democratic Services to make future appointments to the Independent Remuneration Panel. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Okay, thank you. Is there a proposer to approve? Thank you. Okay, is that seconded? Thank you. Is that agreed? Thank you very much. That recommendation is agreed. Item 12, motion on notice. Colleagues, you will see there is one motion on notice on today's agenda. I will ask Councillor Rachel Reid to introduce this. Councillor Reid, please.
Thank you, Chair. I move the motion opposing the Whitestone solar project. The Whitestone proposal is vast, around 2,000 hectares from Conisbrough to Woodall, making it the largest solar farm in the UK and the first NSIP of its kind in our area. From the start, residents have been clear. This scheme is unacceptable. It would disrupt over 60 rights of way, industrialise miles of countryside, overload narrow rural roads with construction traffic, and take productive agricultural land out of use for decades, while offering no direct benefit to households or local employment. The consultation has been equally concerning, highly technical, difficult to access, and with hard copy materials available only at significant cost. It is no wonder that objections have come from MPs, parish councils and councillors of all parties across South Yorkshire. This council has long maintained that solar development should focus on rooftops, brownfield land and already developed sites, not on high quality farmland. The Whitestone project ignores that principle entirely. We must also consider flood risk. Recent events have again left parts of Doncaster underwater. Communities such as Parkgate, Old Deneby, Conisbrough, Houghton Roberts and Mexborough cannot absorb further risk. Large-scale solar on farmland through soil compaction, reduced permeability and faster runoff has the clear potential to make flooding worse, contradicting the requirements of the National Planning Policy Framework. Although the final decision will rest with government when an application is submitted in 2026, it is right that this council sets out its position now. Our view is straightforward. This proposal does not have our support and we call on the developer to withdraw it. We will ensure residents are fully informed should the application proceed, and we will continue to highlight the need to protect agricultural land, manage cumulative environmental impacts, and avoid increasing flood risk. This is the wrong proposal in the wrong place, and it does not serve the interests of our communities. I commend this motion to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. Councillor Alexander-Jones, I understand you are seconding this motion. Councillor Jones, would you like to speak?
Seconded with nothing further to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any member wish to speak? Okay, so Mayor Ross Jones, please.
Thank you, Chair. I will be supporting this motion. I am a firm believer that solar panels should be on rooftops first and foremost and not on productive farmland. Just last month, I met with the leaders of Save Our Greenbelt campaign to discuss current progress and the next steps. I think we should highlight some of the points from the motion that gained cross-party support at the previous meeting of full council in September, in that 1, an increased use of renewable energy sources such as solar power is critical in meeting the UK's net zero commitments and tackling climate change. Agricultural land is finite, an invaluable resource for food security, biodiversity and the rural economy. Open, unspoilt countryside is important for conservation, health and well-being and public amenity. Rooftops and car parks represent underutilised spaces that are highly suitable for solar panel installations without reducing the many benefits of greenfield land, in particular its potential for food production and agriculture. I fully understand the concerns that are being raised in relation to this proposed large-scale solar development at Conisbrough. I am opposed to large landowners taking productive farmland out of production that could blight vast swathes of our beautiful environment. It is also worth highlighting that most of the relevant landowners do not live in Doncaster or farm the land they own. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Councillor Dave Knight, please.
I'd like to endorse there again and fully support what Mayor Jones has said, and equally what Councillor Reid has said. At the end of the day, I can't live on electricity, but I need food to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ransom, please.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support Councillor Reid and the Mayor in their comments regarding the solar farm. Councillor Bloor and I have a ward with 3 solar farms proposed, taking good farmland when it's taking out of food production. So as far as this is concerned, we fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ransom. Does any further people wish? Councillor Neil Wood, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just add to it that is an interesting point. We've just passed off an airport today, and airports are open to glare from solar panels, so we should be seeing less of them even more for a reason for our own personal gain with the airport.
Thank you. Any further requests? Okay, thank you. Councillor Reid, do you wish to exercise your right of reply? Okay, thank you. We shall now move to the vote. Can I remind members not to press your buttons until I have opened the vote, and please be aware that your vote will not count when the vote has been closed. Please either press green for yes, red for no, or white to abstain. I am now opening the vote. Okay, thank you. I will close the vote. Okay, so the votes are 44 in favour of the motion, 1 abstention and 2 noes. The motion is therefore carried. Thank you. Item 13, questions by elected members. Before I move to questions to elected members, can I remind everyone that council procedure rules state that question time is limited to 1 hour due to the number of questions on the agenda and the potential for supplementary questions and questions without notice. Can I ask that members are concise and to the point when asking and answering questions? This will ensure a more productive session and a greater opportunity for all members to participate. I will ask Governance Services colleagues for a time check once we have completed questions on notice. Questions on notice to the Executive. There are 9 questions on notice today for today's meeting. Questions 1 to 3 are put to Mayor Ross Jones. Questions 4 to 7 to the Deputy Mayor, and questions 8 and 9 are directed to Councillor Sue Farmer and James Church. I shall read out the first question from Councillor Maria Hollingworth to Mayor Jones. While responsibility for bus services lies with the South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority, or SIMCA as we know it, could the Council raise with SIMCA the concerns of over 200 residents in Sandyfields View, Carcroft, regarding the rerouting of the 351 and the 361 buses away from Skellow Road, which has left many, particularly elderly and disabled residents, struggling to access essential services and feeling increasingly isolated?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your question, Councillor Hollingworth. Can I ask if you have raised these concerns yourself with the South Yorkshire Mayor or South Yorkshire Mayoral Combined Authority? If you have, please forward me the email and I will pick this up with them. I must emphasise that it is ultimately private bus operators that make the decision on routes, timetables and fare prices. Our bus network across Doncaster and South Yorkshire is not fit for purpose. Back in March, alongside my fellow South Yorkshire leaders, we took the decision to bring our buses back under public control, enabling us to put passengers back at the heart of our public transport system. It will take time to see improvements as we rebuild our bus network, ensuring that it works for our residents, connecting them to opportunities for work, education and leisure. The first publicity control buses are expected to begin operating in Doncaster in September 27. That is publicly controlled, not publicity. This follows on from one of the biggest public transport consultations in the UK earlier this year, where more than 7,800 took part, with nearly 90% of response calling for change. SIMCA are working at pace to reverse nearly 40 years of deregulation and put the public back at the heart of public transport. That means SIMCA will control the bus routes, timetables, fares, ticket options and quality standards, and will be able to reinvest profits back into improving services. My vision is for a bus network across Doncaster and South Yorkshire that is affordable, reliable and provides a quality service, connecting our communities with little nipper buses in our city and town centres and linking with our railway stations to enable a fully integrated transport network. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Councillor Hollingworth, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, I do. Thank you for that reassurance. Could you confirm that what specific steps the council will take to raise these concerns with SIMCA at the moment, and whether there will be a clear timeline or some feedback for the residents so they know what to expect and when an update will be possible for the solutions?
Mayor Jones.
Firstly, can I ask you to answer the question where I said, have you already emailed the Mayor of South Yorkshire or South Yorkshire MCA? Because if you have, it would be helpful to have those in order for me to follow up. I can follow up next week. However, I can't confirm when they will respond. I will press for a response, but I can't confirm it because it's not within my control.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay. moving on to the next question. I will read out the second question from Councillor Chris Kidger to Mayor Jones. Given the importance of fair and competitive remuneration in attracting and retaining skilled staff, could you please outline the time frame you envisage for achieving pay parity for the City of Doncaster Council employees with other South Yorkshire authorities? Mayor Jones, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your question, Councillor Kidger. I must reiterate the response that I provided to GMB at the July meeting of full council, in that although I wasn't the mayor when the decision was taken in 2012 to cut staff pay by up to 2.5%, I do recognise and appreciate the impact that this has had on staff earnings over the years. The previous mayor implemented the changes on the promise to limit the job losses and prevent widespread redundancies. The reality being that over the 14 years of austerity, we still saw significant job losses and cuts to the service. I would like to thank staff for all their hard work and efforts to deliver services to the residents of Doncaster while recognising the pay differences. We remain committed to enhancing the overall employee experience and actively explore ways to improve staff benefits as part of our ongoing efforts to recognise and reward our staff within the current financial constraints as a financially well-managed council with the lowest council tax in Yorkshire and one of the lowest across the country. As you will be aware, there is currently uncertainty in relation to local government funding, and many budgetary pressures face this council and local authorities across the country. However, I've heard the feedback from both staff and the unions and acknowledge the recruitment and retention challenges that we are facing in a number of services. As I stated back in July, I cannot make any promises in relation to pay restoration at this stage. However, I am committed to reviewing options alongside consideration of all budget pressures as part of my budget proposals. We expect to get the indicative settlement announcement from government before Christmas, which will enable us to draft my budget proposals before they are presented to Cabinet in February.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Councillor Kidger, would you like to ask a supplementary?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you for your response, Mayor. Given the clear link between pay parity and our ability to retain and recruit skilled staff, could the council at least commit to setting out a roadmap or interim measures, such as phase adjustments or retention incentives, so employees at least have clarity on how and when progress will be made?
Thank you for your supplementary. I will repeat, this will be taken into account when we do the budgetary proposals. We would like to see clarity, but I also want to make you aware that when we did a staff proposals out there and asked them what they thought, quite a high percentage of staff saw themselves continuing working here. And I think the percentage was about 77, 78%. However, I still believe that we need to look for parity, but I need to weigh this up with all other budget requirements, and we don't know what the settlement is yet. So much depends on what money comes to us.
Thank you. The third question is from Councillor Lee Samet to Mayor Jones. It is great news that Rosington has been selected to receive £20 million Pride in the Place funding over 10 years. This investment has the potential to be game-changing in Rosington. I know it's probably early days in terms of planning that investment, but would you be able to provide more details in relation to potential projects that could be funded and how the community will be involved in the decision-making? Mayor Jones, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Councillor Samet. I am delighted that Doncaster has been allocated £61.5 million of government funding through the Pride in Place programme that will breathe new life into some of our most deprived communities over a 10-year period. with Rosington, Mexborough and Conisbrough each set to receive 20 million over 10 years, with funding set to commence in April 2027. The timing could not be better, with it following our Big Neighbourhoods conversation, where our residents have been telling us what they would like to see in their communities. In Doncaster, we are committed to working with all our communities, bringing added benefits to local neighbourhoods. The next step for us is to establish neighbourhood boards. Each neighbourhood board will be led by an independent chair, appointed by the local authority following consultation with the local MP. The chair should act as a champion for the place and provide leadership for the board, ensuring it is community-led and embedded in local area. Neighbourhood boards have responsibility for developing their regeneration plan in partnership with the local authority to deliver the strategic objectives of the programme and should bring together a range of community stakeholders. Membership must include the local MP and at least one ward councillor. The board will need to generate a vision for the future of their area and set a pathway to deliver that over the course of the 10-year programme and beyond, considering opportunities to attract and combine new and existing private, public and philanthropic funding streams. Neighbourhoods will decide how to prioritise funding based on extensive community engagement across 3 core objectives: to build stronger communities, to create thriving places, and to empower people to take back control. Areas will be given a pre-approved list of interventions, and if the activity can be evidenced as a clear priority for the community, it can be pursued without the need for a business case. If activities fall outside the scope of the pre-approved intervention, they can still be pursued, but a business case would need to be agreed with MHCLG in these circumstances. There is a long list of pre-approved interventions, but to give a few examples: funding for improvements to town centres and high streets, funding for local arts, culture, heritage and creative initiatives, measures to improve community cohesion, integration and co-location of health and wellbeing services. This is the first time in a very long time that we have had this amount of money, particularly revenue money, to invest in dedicated communities and where we can make big funding decisions at a very local level in consultation with the people who live and work there. I hope that answers your question, Councillor Samet. As I said in my announcement earlier, I look forward to seeing how we can work with local residents to transform plans into reality, and I will of course keep Council updated and consulted with any potential investment for their wards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. Councillor Samet.
Thank you. You've answered my question perfectly. Cheers.
Thank you. Okay. I understand that the 4th question on notice from Councillor Alexander Jones, as published on the agenda, has been withdrawn. Is that correct? Well, he's not here to say so, but I think that's the correct. Thank you. We will now move on to the next question. The next question is from Councillor Oliver Blur to Councillor Glyn Jones. Will the council be offering free parking to support local businesses and encourage trade over the Christmas period? Councillor Jones.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Blower. As per previous years, visitors to the city will once again benefit from free parking in selected council car parks this Christmas. From Monday the 1st of December until Sunday the 4th of January 2026, selected car parks will offer free parking at certain times during the festive season from 2 p.m. Monday to Saturday at the markets and St George's car parks, all day Sunday free parking at both the markets car park and St George's car park, all day Saturday free car parking at Chapel Drive for December only. As a council, we must take a balanced approach to ensure financial stability of this authority whilst doing what we can to support city centre businesses. We are determined to do everything possible to support our high streets, independent businesses and market traders this festive season. We hope that people will make the most of this offer alongside our incredible Christmas events. Our Christmas events timetable has now officially been launched and we have a lot happening to mark Christmas and the end of 2025 in the city centre. I hope everybody enjoys the festive season, spending quality time with family and friends while shopping local, helping to support the local businesses and traders that we have in our great city. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. It appears that Councillor Blow's not in the chamber, so I will not ask for a supplementary question. I will now read out the question from Councillor Howard Rimmer to Councillor Glyn Jones. What steps will Doncaster Council take to address persistent illegal parking in the city centre east, particularly on Copley Road, Netherall Road and East Lathgate, where nightly violations on double yellow lines, pavements and near traffic signals obstruct traffic and public transport? Councillor Jones, would you like to respond, please?
Okay, thank you for your question, Councillor Rimmer. I'm assuming that you have been reporting your experience of this to both this council and South Yorkshire Police through the proper channels. Also, have you raised your concerns with Town Ward councillors? There has been changes to the nighttime economy and the growth of businesses on both Copley and Netherhall roads. I can advise that the parking services team do address vehicles that are illegally parked. The road names mentioned form part of a patrol including High Street and Hallgate that our civil enforcement officers visit daily. The presence of officers acts as a deterrent in itself. However, we do experience opportunist parkers that park in these locations illegally. Since April this year, I can report that over 1,200 penalty charge notices have been issued. This includes evening support from colleagues in the neighbourhood response team. The parking services team also undertakes ad hoc joint evening operations in collaboration with colleagues from South Yorkshire Police to address priority issues within local communities. These initiatives are designed to tackle persistent problems such as illegal or obstructive parking, vehicle-related antisocial behaviour and road safety concerns that often arise outside of standard working hours. This partnership approach not only strengthens community confidence but also supports the delivery of a safer and more accessible environment for residents and visitors. The difficulty for both this council and South Yorkshire Police is the availability of resources. I must highlight that pavement parking, although antisocial, is largely not illegal outside of London and Scotland. However, the government has announced that it is considering bringing the rest of the country in line with London and Scotland to fully ban pavement parking. The Minister for Local Transport, Simon Lightwood MP, recently provided the following statement after a Westminster Hall debate in Westminster. We will announce the next steps and publish our formal response as soon as possible. We are working with Town Ward councillors on potential long-term solutions as part of the city centre master plan and investment plan. Any solution would of course require both resident and business consultation. Thank you for your question, Councillor Rimmer.
I have to say that were bang on 3 minutes, that were perfection. Councillor Rimmer, would you like to ask a supplementary question in 2 minutes?
Yes, I would. Thank you. Thank you for your answer, Councillor Jones. I've just been told by a member of the public that visits the chamber regularly that he asked the same question last month and has not had any reply. There is a car park at the end of Copley Road, should be used by Copley Road people. There's a car park on East Lathgate opposite where most of the illegal parking is done. I have indeed spoken to a town ward councillor not 5 hours ago regarding this, and I've also stopped policemen in the street on the East Lathgate, and they say it's not their problem, it's a council problem. To me, double yellow parking while you're having a meal for 2 or 3 hours is a traffic problem, not a parking problem. And the market car park, which is free from 2 o'clock when the market shuts at past, and they've all gone by 3, should be emptied to supply parking for all of Copley Road needs. And I've had a bit more information from Councillor Dennis than yourself, that there's proposed one-way traffic on Copley Road and Netherall Road. I hope it's considered that Copley Road will run the other way to what it does now, because if it doesn't, it'll be havoc on Market Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emmett. Councillor Jones?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, that did get raised, and he's being chased by my office currently. I did send that question off to enforcement, and it hadn't been responded to. I've already apologised to the member of the public around that, but it will be answered once I get that detail. I've got sympathy with your request, but I think it requires absolute clarity of roles and responsibilities regarding whose role and responsibility it is to park in and out of those regulated zones and non-regulated zones. So I will, once I get that clarification, Councillor, I will be responding to you yourself on that matter. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. The next question is from Councillor Bob Anderson to Deputy Mayor Councillor Glyn Jones. We have seen a rise in enforcement action targeting shops selling illegal vapes and counterfeit cigarettes. Just last month, we saw South Yorkshire Police visit 4 shops in Doncaster where they seized items including over 1,000 illegal or counterfeit vapes and 700 packets of illegal or counterfeit cigarettes. I have been researching vapes and I have real concerns about the potential long-term impacts on young people using them and the risk of progression to traditional cigarettes. What more can we do as councillors and as a council to tackle these illegal activities? Councillor Jones.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Councillor Anderson. Last year, Mayor Ross allocated an additional £1 million of funding for additional measures to tackle crime, safety and cleanliness concerns in the city centre, including CCTV, street scene, neighbourhood response and enforcement resources. This council, working alongside South Yorkshire Police, will continue to work together with targeted patrols for increased visibility along with other collaborative efforts and enforcement. I share your concerns in relation to vapes for young people. Earlier this month, there was an incident in a Doncaster school where 5 students using the same vape had become unwell, with 1 pupil requiring resuscitation. Thankfully, these 5 children were lucky and are now home and well. Our Public Health Service have previously provided a toolkit for schools and colleges that covers contaminated vapes, including local service contact information and what to do if they suspect the use of a contaminated vape. This has been resent to all Doncaster schools. Vaping is not for children and young people, as their developing lungs and brains are more vulnerable to its effects. While nicotine vaping is significantly less harmful than smoking, it is not completely risk-free. It is the responsibility of all of us to do all we can to protect our residents, especially our young people. There are resources and toolkits online that councillors can share within their communities. We need to get the message out there that vapes can be dangerous for children and young people. As a council, we will continue with our partnership working with South Yorkshire Police, our increased enforcement activities and public health measures to educate and inform all our Doncaster residents, especially our young, vulnerable people. Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Anderson, would you like to ask a supplementary question? If so, please.
Yes,
do.
please, Chair. Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor. But would you also agree this enforcement should also help reputable law-abiding traders if the illicit market and unfair competition is clamped down on?
Councillor Jones?
I would absolutely, totally agree with that. Many retailers are under the cosh, struggling, and need every assistance that they can to continue with their legal wares and sales of those such things. So yes, I would totally agree with you, Councillor. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from Councillor Jane Kidd to Councillor Sue Farmer, Cabinet Member for Children, Young People and Families. Youth services have been cut across the country over the past 14 years due to austerity cuts to councils. A report earlier this year from the YMCA revealed a 73% decline in funding in England for youth services between 2010 to 2024, which represents real terms cuts of £1.2 billion. The previous Conservative government announced Doncaster as being one of only 4 local authorities across the country to be allocated youth investment funding in October 2022. We are now more than 3 years later and still no youth hub in Wheatley. Can you provide reassurance that Wheatley will get its new youth hub? Councillor Farmer, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your question, Councillor Kidd. The Wheatley Youth Hub and wider Youth Investment Fund was beset with delays as the previous government went out to tender for the building, receiving quotes in excess of 1.4 million, whereas their grant funding was 834,000. Back in April, despite over 2 years of delay and doubts on whether it will go ahead at all, this Labour government agreed a total funding package of over 1.47 million, enabling the new Wheatley Youth Hub to go ahead as planned. And I am pleased to announce that contractors are due to start on site in the next couple of weeks, and the build time will be around 26 weeks. So we are hoping the new hub will be open for summer 2026. We are currently recruiting to the youth team that will be based in Wheatley, so they will start building up partnerships within the locality. They will also be engaging with young people through detached outreach work. Young people will be involved in the interior design of the building to ensure it is engaging and welcoming. We have secured better youth spaces, funding to furnish the space, including interactive screen and sensory nook. As we have with our other youth hubs, we will have a focus on this hub, and it will be health and well-being for children and young people. We will, of course, keep you and your ward colleagues up to date as the bill progresses. Thank you for your question, Councillor Kidd.
Thank you. Councillor Kidd, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
It's not really a question so much as thank you for that. And yes, I understand we will be kept up to date. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question from Councillor Majid Khan to Councillor James Church, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods, Planning and Public Health. Despite what some critics may say, Doncaster Markets remains a landmark destination within our city centre, despite the continued changes and pressures facing town and city centre high streets across the country. In 2009, the estimated number of market traders across the country, was 46,000. In 2022, that number was circa 17,000. I would like to thank you, James, alongside Mayor Ross, for inviting me and my ward colleagues to the recent market traders meeting to discuss the Doncaster Market Enhancement Strategy and a planned investment. Where are we with this? As I believe all councillors will be interested to hear. Councillor Church, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Khan. Doncaster Market is a key destination, a visitor attraction, a business centre and social hub. We are absolutely determined, we are absolutely committed to Doncaster Market and regenerating our city centre. I'm determined that both the market and the city centre should be busy, vibrant places that benefit Doncaster, the public and you all as local businesses. I think we all need to acknowledge that town and city centres and traditional markets across the country have faced over a decade of change and challenging times, with the rise of supermarkets, out-of-town retail, online shopping and the COVID pandemic. People can now sit at home, order their supermarket groceries, order gifts online and order takeaways, all from their own sofa while watching Netflix. It should be of no surprise that in 2009, the estimated number of market traders across the country was 46,000, and then in 2022, that number had fallen to circa 17,000. As a collective, we need to adapt to these changing times, providing not just fantastic produce, but an experience that brings customers back week after week, promoting local British seasonal produce, backing local businesses and striving for a vibrant, busy city centre. That is why we are developing a new market strategy to build on the change and the regeneration we have already done, such as the wool market and the corn exchange. Doncaster Market needs to be at the heart of the change. The market is critical to the fortunes of the city centre. It is part of our heritage and history and also fundamental to our future. As per my announcement at the beginning of the meeting, Doncaster residents, visitors, business owners and market traders will next week be asked for their views and ideas on the future of Doncaster markets and the marketplace area. The feedback we receive will help us to develop the strategy as well as prioritise a list of investment milestones we can work towards alongside all our market traders who have been and will continue to be consulted throughout the entire process.
Thank you, Councillor Church. I understand that Councillor Khan had to leave for childcare, but he has left a supplementary question with a colleague. Councillor Dennis, would you like to read that?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for allowing me to read Councillor Khan's supplementary. Thank you, James. Me and my fellow Town Ward colleagues look forward to working with you on this new strategy and the planned investment. However, some traders have concerns about MAM in relation to this planned investment. Can you confirm this major project of investment will be led by this council rather than by MAM?
And confirm this investment will be led by this council in consultation with our market traders. This is an incredible opportunity to see the full regeneration of our markets following the successful regeneration of our wool market and corn exchange. I'm committed to working with our market traders to shape our new market strategy and them alongside this planned investment.
Thank you. We now come to part 2 of item 13, questions without notice. I will ask governance officers for a time check to see how long have we got. 26 minutes, okay. To maximise member participation during question time, I will ask members just to ask a question. Due to the time risk constraints, I will not allow supplementary questions. Can I also ask to ensure your questions are appropriate for the meeting? Oh, we've got 26 minutes, maybe we'll come to that. At this point, I need to say that Mayor Ross has had to leave, so questions that can be asked, but they will be responded to in writing afterwards. Right, hold on then. Councillor Wood's been waiting patiently, so now it's your time.
Thank you, Chair. I were aiming at the Vice, because I assume that won't be asking the Mayor, if that's okay. So, taking into consideration Storm Claudia, when it rains really heavy and river goes over, there's only one way in and out of Doncaster, and that's over at North Bridge, and that's for everybody from one side of Doncaster to other. Forsted Lane often closes, and the embankment down Stainforth tends to close, Kirk Bramworth closes, and it's murder for everybody from one side of Donny to other, whichever way you're going. Is it something that you could consider looking at, how we could put some sort of, whether it's a road thoroughfare or some sort of flood defence in to try and keep open more than just one road in and out of Doncaster from both directions for everybody? That's my question.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. Doncaster has a large proportion, as you're aware, of its land in floodplain, and that, unfortunately, is reflected with roads and flooding, etc. But these matters have been looked at over previous years, along with the Environment Agency and along with other local bodies such as Yorkshire Regional Flood and Coastal Defence Teams. I'm sure if there's something there, Councillor, we will implement it, assuming we get appropriate funding for that, because it's something that we have to obviously have funding, and you will be aware of that, because our funding, our money for roads, highways is extremely limited currently, but we are looking to increase that. I'm not sure whether that's going to go for flood defences or heightening roads, etc., but it's something that I'm sure has been considered previously, and I'll try and get that information to you.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Thinking on my feet, I think I'm going to agree that all questions for Mayor Ross come in right into the exec team, and then they can be answered that. So we've already had one question from Councillor Jones. Are there any more questions for Councillor Jones? Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Chair. The plight of fly tipping is one that the Deputy Mayor knows all too well from his own ward's casework issues. These issues are also present in my ward, especially in Hyde Park, Townmoor and the Lower Wheatley areas. Following the government's announcement on the 29th of April of new powers to tackle fly tipping, including the ability to seize and crush vehicles used by waste criminals, can the Council confirm whether these powers are being actively used in Doncaster?
Yes, thank you for your question, Councillor Dennis. Fly tipping is an offence that we take very seriously and can incur a heavy fine or even a prison sentence depending upon its severity. Fly tipping is harmful to the environment, it spoils our communities, and worst of all, it can put the health and well-being of residents at risk. That is why we thoroughly investigate all reports of fly tipping that are submitted to the Council and will take any necessary steps, including reviewing footage from our sophisticated CCTV network and collecting evidence through our dedicated environmental enforcement officers to catch the perpetrators responsible. We also have some dedicated covert portable cameras that we deploy in hotspot areas. That announcement in April was that government launching a rapid review to slash red tape, blocking councils from seizing and crushing vehicles. Councils currently have to bear the significant cost of seizing and storing vehicles. However, but under new plans being considered by ministers, fly tippers will cover this cost, saving councils and taxpayers money. The proposed changes have not been implemented yet, so it is too early to say what impact they will have. City of Doncaster Council uses all the legal powers available to us to tackle fly tipping, including the seizure and crushing of vehicles used by culprits of fly tipping. I believe this was mentioned to all councillors as part of the induction process. As per Q2 of this financial year, 90% of fly tips have been investigated and removed within 7 days from public areas. To give you some statistics, 137 fixed penalty notices were served for fly tipping offences in 2024-25. 88 fixed penalty notices have been served this financial year up to the end of October. 34 prosecutions for fly tipping offences occurred in 24-25 and 10 prosecutions for fly tipping offences this financial year up to the end of October. Just to highlight that some cases have gone to court but have not yet been heard due to the defendant not attending when required. These have either been adjourned to another date or warrants without bail issued. Fly tipping remains a challenge, but removal within timescales has improved. Street Scene continue to work in partnership with the enforcement team to identify and deal with the perpetrators. I'd also like to take this opportunity to remind all councillors and residents that they can help us look after their neighbourhoods by reporting fly tipping to us alongside any other evidence that you may have on the perpetrators. The information shared is invaluable and helps ensure that the appropriate action can be taken. Thank you for your question, Councillor Dennis.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Squire, did you gently touch the button because your name flashed and disappeared? So are you happy with that then? Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Reid, please.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success in Mexborough with fly tip, and if Rob wants to get together with me, I might be able to have some ideas. Okay.
Thank you for that. Are there any more questions for Councillor Jones? Councillor Aston.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I seek your wise counsel on this question because it was actually meant for Mayor Jones, because she was talking about pay restoration for the employees. I know we are losing staff because they've told me, because they're going for better salaries in other local councils. I just wondered if there was a figure that could be shared with this chamber as to the costs of agency staff over the last financial year. What's it actually cost us to cover for these vacancies? That's my question, plain and simple.
Thank you for that. I think, as advised earlier, Mayor Ros is not here, and if that question can be captured and sent to Ros, then she will have to reply appropriately. Thank you for that. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor James Church, Cabinet Member for Neighbourhoods, Planning and Public Health? Councillor Dennis, please.
Thank you, Chair. And James, I'm sure you'll agree sort of the funding investment that has been announced for the market is amazing news for our market traders and Doncaster as a whole. And I'd just like to plug, if I may, that our market is open 3 days a week, every single week of the year. And they frequently see more and more people who just come at Christmas time. And so would James agree that we should all shop at the market all year round and not just for Christmas?
Yes, I totally agree. There was a few stores open this morning, a few traders, and the produce that they've got there is absolutely fantastic. And I bought myself a big pork pie for Christmas, so I'll definitely be going back and getting a lot more in time for Christmas. That's if I get 5 minutes enough to shop, I'll tell you first.
Thank you, Councillor Church. Okay, I'm not sure there's any more requests. Moving on, are there any any council questions for Councillor Sue Farmer, Cabinet Members for Children, Young People and Families? Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Councillor David Nevitt, Cabinet Member for Adults, Wellbeing and Culture? Thank you. Are there any questions for the following chairs of committees? The Chair of Health and Wellbeing Board, Councillor James Church. Okay. Okay, right, thank you. Moving on then to item 14, update on disclosures and barring checks DBS for elected members. This report is for information and provides an update on the number of members who have voluntarily obtained a basic level DBS check to date. Further to the report and recommendations agreed by full council at its annual meeting held on the 23rd of May 2025. Paragraph 7 of the report confirms there are 2 outstanding DBS checks. Since issuing the agenda, I can confirm that the outstanding independent members has now completed their DBS check. The final outstanding DBS check was not completed due to a technical issue, this being addressed and will be completed imminently. This will ensure all current City of Doncaster councillors will have complied with the council's requirements. And I just want to say as chair, that's absolutely fantastic that everybody's taken part in that process. And yes, I'm very thrilled that everybody's completed that and have come back and we're good. Before I ask council to note the report, does anyone wish to speak on this matter? Okay. Do we agree to note the report? Agreed. Thank you. This report is noted. Item 16, minutes of the joint authorities. The minutes are included as a hyperlink on your agenda to enable you to view them online. These minutes are included for information and not endorsement. Does any member wish to speak on this item? Thank you. Can I ask a member to move that the minutes are noted? Thank you. Is that noted? Agreed. Thank you. Members, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business at today's meeting. As this is the last full council meeting of 2025, I would like to take the opportunity to wish everybody all the best over the forthcoming festive period and a happy and prosperous new year to you all. Thank you very much. I now declare the meeting closed.